Good. Okay. Just gotta get that. So the first thing we're going to do is trim the selvage off of the binding. Next, we are going to create the 45-degree angle by lining up the ruler with the white lines as being pointed to. This will create the notch for ease of attaching the binding, which we'll show you next. And remember to put right sides together when you're doing this. And then you can pin it. And take it over to your sewing machine. So once you've sewn it together, voila! Now you can press it. Ready.
Now that you have your binding made and your quilt all quilted, we will go over how to attach your binding to your quilt. There are multiple ways of doing this. I'm going to do mine by machine, all of it, 100% of the way. So I am going to start by attaching my binding to the back of my quilt. If you prefer to do hand stitching for the second part of your binding, then you would follow the same process, but you would attach it to the front of your quilt and then fold it around to be hand stitched on the back. Okay, so to start your binding, you want to leave a good gap away from the corner. So I usually aim for about the center of the side of the quilt, and you want to leave a healthy tail. So usually between 8 to 10 inches. So I'm going to start sewing from right here and work my way to my corner. That down a bit, there we go. Back stitch. And then I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make my way to the corner. Okay, so as you approach your corner, you want to stop a 1/4 inch away from the edge of your quilt. This is so that you can get a nice mitered corner. Here we are. Okay, so now that we have made it to our corner and we've left the 1/4 inch, you're going to fold your binding in sort of an unusual way, which will give you that nice miter. So you want to fold it so that it's running parallel to the edge of your quilt. So your raw edge is parallel to the edge of your quilt. You get that nice 45-degree angle here when you've done it correctly. And then you fold it this way. So you are going to start your stitching right at the edge of your quilt here and carry on down. I have sewn all the way around all 4 sides and done all 4 quarters, and I am now ready to attach the ends of my binding. I trim that 45-degree angle that we made with our special ruler off. And then this is the tail, bless you, the tail that I trimmed off of my binding. I'm going to use this. This is actually really important. So I'm going to trim that a little shorter. I'm laying everything nice and flat, and I'm going to use this as a way to measure. So I'm laying that on top of there. And then I am going to trim my binding to here. This is giving me, this 2.5-inch piece is giving me my measurement so that I know these are going to match up and give me the proper seam allowance. Once you have everything cut to the proper length, you are going to match right sides together like this. So as you can see, if I left my tails a little longer, it would be easier to see. You're getting that 90-degree angle in there. I'm going to pin this so that when I go to my machine, it stays well lined up for me. And then you are going to sew from here to here. Now, it's very easy to mix this up and to actually sew from here to here. The way that I always think about it to remember which way I want to sew it is, if you look at this and consider these ends are legs, you want to sew across the waist, not down into the crotch. So as you can see, I have sewn across the waist, and I'm just going to check and make sure that everything's fitting well before I trim. So I'm quite happy with how that is fitting. So now I'm going to lay this as flat as I can, and I'm just going to trim 1/4 inch from my seam allowance. Precision is not necessarily most important at this part. You do not want to be less than 1/4 inch. And then I am going to just backstitch here and here and sew this down, and then we're ready to flip it around and sew it on the front. Now I'm just gonna fold over and attach with my handy Wonder clips. They save me so many pokes from a straight pin. And when you get to your corner, because we have done the mitered method, this folds straight across like that, and then this folds in, and you can see that we get like that lovely mitered corner as we go around the sides.